Yeah.
If you're not struggling, you're probably not learning. So I would go back and tell myself that.
Absolutely. Rewind to 2014. You're putting on steel-toed boots and you're going to work at that local factory in town to build bumpers or something.
Bumpers.
Fast forward to now. It's 2022. Happy New Year's.
Oh, Happy New Year's.
And you are apparently a rags to riches story, even though you don't look like it.
I have rags still.
There's a comma in the bank account. But the great thing about your story is it's not like unique. You didn't do anything groundbreaking.
No.
Hate to break it to you.
No, I didn't.
Didn't do anything groundbreaking.
This is true.
Anyone can do this with the right tools.
Yes.
So we're gonna unpack it and see what you did, so other people can hopefully, myself included, recreate what you did, because you're doing pretty well. This is my eldest brother. I talked about him. I look at the camera.
You.
I look at you.
You look at me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is awkward though, because
we don't ever look at
each other.
Beautiful chocolate eyes. All right. So you are. I mean, I talked about it like a lot in my other videos, little snippets here and there. You're the reason that I code.
I
and
appreciate it.
That I am a software engineer-ish person and a self-taught software engineer.
Flattered.
I haven't even introduced you.
Flattered. Oh, should I introduce myself?
Yeah, go ahead for
Okay,
it. Go for
all
it.
right,
Yeah.
Hi. My name's Josiah Peoples.
Wow.
Yeah, I am a front-end software engineer.
Fun.
Been doing it for about 6 years now.
Sick.
Yep. Started off as a graphic designer.
Uh-huh.
Didn't want to do that anymore.
Nope.
And decided to change.
That makes sense. I like that. Tell me about like all the positions that you held as a software developer, software engineer, whatever.
Okay. So my first job was actually as a SharePoint developer, and
Gross.
for all of intents and purposes, stay far away from SharePoint development. It's actually the worst.
What year was that?
2014. 2014.
Got it.
2014, beginning of 2015. Sorry, so long ago. And I was responsible for transferring all of our paper products, all of our paper forms into SharePoint, and then making apps so people could fill them out.
What company was that?
This is for a company called Flexingate. This is actually a company that built the bumpers.
That's the bumper factory that you worked at in the hometown.
Yeah, it's a very lesser known thing, but he actually created the first uniform bumper, and now 60 to 70% of all truck bumpers are the factory's
Big
designs.
bumper guy.
Big bumper. He's a
Big bumper guy.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, SharePoint developer, 2014, and then what else?
And then I had opportunity to go out to Seattle. A friend of a friend of a friend. Actually, it's who you know. Had a position open. I went out there just to say hi. It turned into an interview, which turned into a job, and we moved out to Seattle. So my second position was a senior web designer at Expedia. I stayed there for 2 years and had a great time.
Senior web developer.
Okay. Designer.
Senior web designer
first.
Did you code?
Yes. So it was a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of confusing.
That's confusing.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
We can get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, and now you work for. You are the CEO of your own company, making millions every single day.
7 million every single hour.
Every single hour.
Actually, every single hour.
Every single hour.
Now I work for a fintech company in Austin as a front end developer. I also do lead the UI experience there too. So I'm kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to designing and developing. I try to bridge the gap, I say, between form and function.
Okay. Don't know what that means. Sound like buzzwords you say in meetings.
It's a lot of buzzwords.
Okay, so I know like getting your first start in software engineering is the hardest. So how did you go from working at that factory, like on the assembly line or something like that? How did you go from assembly line to being a SharePoint developer?
It was actually 2008 was when it started. I'm not sure if anyone remembers on this channel, but it was the financial crisis where the housing market flipped. So that was when our company restructured everything. I was working as a temporary worker. I just got out of school. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Actually, to be completely authentic, I dropped out of school because I couldn't afford it.
Right.
And then I went into the factory work so I could pay off my school bills.
What were you going to school for?
I was going to school for mechanical engineering.
Okay. Yeah. So making bumpers is
right
around the same
Making
route.
bumpers, actually, it correlated. One of the guys knew I had some engineering experience, and so he asked me to come and work on the floor to learn more about bumpers. Now, granted, I wasn't engineering; I was just doing stuff with my hands, but I was in an engineering factory, so it counted.
It counts
in some way. So that turned into an opportunity after the crisis happened. Our company restructured, and I was moved to a different department, and that's when I started to learn about graphic design. I was working with it was supposed to be a short-term 6-month project, and I started learning about designing everything from banners to posters to displays.
2008. So you're using like a pen to do that? Or
no, we're using it's a lot of Photoshop. I had to brush up my Photoshop skills, but they literally asked the company to help because people were leaving, people were restructuring, and I had done Photoshop 6 years before that in 2003.
Yeah.
And so I had a little bit of experience. I was making posters, and they put me with a designer, and I was just trying to help the company as I could, which turned into a job. He was just looking for associates, and he said that, hey, we really like the work that you did. So that 6 month small project turned into a associate's graphic designer position. I went back to school. I changed my major. I got my associates in graphic design, and then I just started working. I did not know I was going to go into software. I was just trying to, make a buck.
Yeah.
At that time, my first project actually was with an older system, and actually I haven't actually checked it. It's called Drupal. It's a lot like Shopify, excuse me. And it was built in PHP at the time was all the hotness.
Yeah.
And so I spent a lot of time in Drupal as my first project. It was supposed to be just a simple application. I designed it, and then I gave it off to one of our developer friends.
Okay.
And that was kind of my first entry into actually building a piece of software.
So you became a designer, software engineer. How did you learn like the software part of it?
Through a lot of pain and tears.
a lot of
pain,
misery,
and
tears.
tears.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
But it's just most of where curiosity starts. I want to know how things work. I really like to get underneath the hood. I think everyone says that I've taken apart VCRs, and that's the start. That's the start of everything. But can you put them back together? That's the thing.
We'll see.
Yeah. So that's where it really started. It's just the curiosity. We had a guy in IT, and he had a little bit of knowledge, but he couldn't answer my questions. And this is 2014, 2015. So I didn't know the resources that were out there online to go and learn. So I was just poking around myself. I would get into the inspect button on the Chrome browser.
Right click and you're an engineer.
Yeah,
too easy.
I had no idea there was this whole piece of code behind there. So questions. Every time I found something I couldn't do, more questions, and that's why I decided I really want to look into this. I really want to pursue. And mostly it's kind of my it might be some of my hubris. I just like doing things by myself. I like being able to answer my own questions. There's this huge amount of questions I couldn't answer, and I wanted to know how to do that.
Yeah, I mean that sounds like a lot of stories that I hear on the internet. That's why I'm making more stories on the internet to show that it's possible to do it.
Yeah.
What was the feeling when you got your first job, like your first offer letter, that you're no longer a bumper maker, you are a
I was a SharePoint
developer.
Yes.
There you go. What was that feel like?
I was super elated. Honestly, I was on my honeymoon. And I, part of the reason I really wanted to get into it too is because I wanted to provide more for my family.
Right.
Graphic design's great, but it didn't give me the opportunities I was looking for. And I really wanted to have a bigger family. I really wanted to be able to take my family and to do more things in bigger cities. And I just couldn't do what I wanted to do at the time. And so I, on a whim, per my wife's suggestion, I just sent out some resumes, and I put out what I had and just seeing what stuck.
Yeah.
I did not think I was going to get a call back. I didn't think I was going to have anyone be interested. I actually got two. One was actually from Jimmy John's, and they called.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I was like, Jimmy John's needs coders.
Yeah,
what?
it was crazy. I didn't think that everyone needs software. So, on my honeymoon, the morning of my honeymoon, I get a call from Jimmy John's asking me to come in. I'm like, I am actually a couple hundred miles away right now. Remote, yeah. So let me give you a call back, and they were gracious enough to give me some time. But that was when I realized, I had validation. I was like, I can do this. I created a small portfolio, and then to this, I don't want to get too far off track, but I did my own projects.
Yeah.
I started calling myself a developer, and then I picked up my own projects. I made my own sites. I tried to get into the community by just telling people, hey, I'll build you a website. I'll build your app. I'll design something for you. I
hate it when people like put aspiring developer and they built stuff. Like if you're building stuff, you're a developer.
You're a developer.
Yeah,
exactly.
No company wants someone who's an aspiring developer. It's just you're doing a disservice to yourself calling yourself aspiring.
Absolutely. And I think that's the credibility that people look for from other people. But to the same point, you have to believe it yourself.
Yeah.
And then you start taking yourself seriously. People take you seriously.
Yeah. So next one, why is your face shaped like that?
Like this?
Like that, yeah.
Genetically, it's because your dad's my dad. So.
That makes sense. Why didn't you tell me about tech though? Tech is like honestly so amazing. Why didn't you tell me?
This is actually true. I apologize to all you and your followers. I apologize to that.
Yeah.
I was a gatekeeper, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was the gatekeeper in this instance.
I had to join the military and march a little bit. Life could have been so much different. So in your learning, like what courses do you swear by?
My learning, honestly, to tell you the truth, I took one course. I went back to college for one course. I paid $550 to take a Java course in the summer of 2013, and it was awful, but it really did nail down principles and just gave me a little bit more validation that I can do this. Even if you don't pass the class, it's good to talk to people.
Yeah,
which is what I'm really bad at. But being able to talk to an instructor, being able to talk to other classmates, and kind of work out how you think is super duper important. You can do it by yourself. You can definitely by yourself, but at some point you need to talk to someone else about your code and say, hey, how does this work?
Okay. So was that one course enough, or did you just take what you learned, applied it, do your own teaching?
I think that one course was enough. You just to set foundations, and that's all it comes back to is foundations. As long as you have enough of foundation, you can build on top of that and start learning by yourself. Granted, it's difficult because you have to have the discipline. But if you set those foundations, you can start learning most of anything by yourself.
Yeah. I think I took one course myself. It was online. It wasn't like a college course. I took one course myself, and then after that, I was like, oh, okay, well, things work like this. I could probably learn how to do this, this, and this. But yeah, that one course of like guided direction was super beneficial until the rest of my learning, because now I can like look at documentation for a new language and be like, oh, bing, boom, pow, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So outside of being like related to me, did you network at all?
That again, I think that's the thing that I'm really impressed with what you're doing, which I struggle to do. I don't have a really good way of synergizing with other people. So yeah, that's the word,
word of the day.
Word of the synergizing with people. But I did not talk to other people outside of my class. After I finished my class, I kind of went into my own hole and I literally would buy and download PDFs of books. This is before a lot of online classes. So I would go find a book online on Amazon. I go find a PDF, download it, and go and print it off myself, and then read it that way. So I didn't really network as well as I should have. I should have been asking people what they're doing.
Yeah.
I just try to do it by myself.
Because you said you got your position at Expedia because of a friend of a friend of a friend.
Yeah. This is probably the only time I did it right. To take yourself seriously is super important. So when you're when I'm introducing myself, especially new people, instead of telling them, I'm an inspiring developer or I'm trying to get into, I was telling people I am a developer. And that word got around, and he told his friend, and his friend told his friend. So I think it's very important, again, going back to saying, make sure that you take yourself seriously, even if you think that you're just getting into it. If you built something, you're right, you're a developer. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Taking yourself seriously is something I struggled with myself, like that imposter syndrome. Being like a self-taught one college course type of guy, did you ever like struggle with imposter syndrome?
Oh, all the time.
Did you ever get over imposter syndrome?
No.
And how did you do it?
No, still not. I mean, I work with very, very smart people. They're probably, they are world-class engineers, and just being able to be, I think teachable is, I think something that gives, is a lesson that I think is a blessing, because I didn't have the background in college, and so being able to keep my mind open to be the teachable one, to absorb, to make sure that I don't get stuck in a rut, because I've known, I did it my own way and did my own thing.
Yeah.
I know that I can get better. I know that I can sharpen my saw. So having that mindset of, hey, let me meet these people, let me have them speak into my life, I think is super valuable, and it's something that I wouldn't have had if I graduated on my own. So,
okay. Yeah. So I know you got a title that said Senior Front-End Web Developer at Expedia, and I imagine that came with a bunch of, that was your first senior position, right? So I imagine that came with a bunch of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate the waters at Expedia when you got the senior title? Did you feel like you didn't deserve it, like you needed to work harder?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just being at a top 500 company with a position that says senior in Seattle, outside of my comfort zone, I really tried to hunker down and again, take myself seriously. But it did go back to my roots, again, to the foundation of, I spent 7 years as a designer, and even though I was in the tech world, I tried to fall back on, hey, I have built things, I've done these things, I have these principles that I can fall back onto. So that's where I think if you feel lost, when I felt lost, excuse me, personally, I went back to my roots. What have I done? and how can I improve on that?
Okay.
And that really did help, and I think people saw that, and it gave me more opportunities too. I produced a couple of apps just because, again, took myself seriously and raised my hand and say, it's like, hey, I can do it, even though I didn't really know if I could do it or not.
You'll figure it out.
You'll figure it out. You really just gotta throw yourself out there, and you'll fail early. But you'll be fine. You have to learn that way. So
so I mean, you were working at a Expedia, which is a pretty big travel company, and then a pandemic happened where they had to let a ton of people go because no one was traveling. What did you do when that letter is saying that there was no more work?
It was actually an odd conversation downstairs in the basement. So we can talk about that later though.
Okay.
It felt freeing actually.
Freeing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because you really want to see what you can do when your back's against the wall.
Yeah.
I do not recommend you putting yourself in that situation, but when you have less options, it helps you focus. It helps you see what's important.
Right.
And so again, my number one goal: take care of my family, make sure that I can support them. But that also gave me a chance to spread my wings and try to see if I could transfer into something more challenging, something more more fulfilling. I think it was actually a good time because you never want to get stagnant.
Right.
You never want to get complacent. And so this challenged me to hey, where am I weak? How can I improve some of my skills that I've been looking to improve and go from there. So
you went from Expedia to where you are now, which is like the fintech company.
Yep.
How did you go about finding the job and studying for interviews?
Oh, I think it was actually you that recommended some data structure and algorithm courses.
And it's like Algo Expert, was it?
Yeah, Algorithm's a fantastic course. But again, there's a plethora of online resources. But again, that's the self-discipline. Going back to that, looking for jobs is great, but I think you should self-assess. Really make sure you take yourself and assess where you're weak at, and then put yourself out there. You're not going to succeed at your first interview, first 5 interviews, and I think I failed 6 or 7, yes, before I even
6 or 7,
yeah.
Jeez. And you had a senior title,
and I had a senior title,
yeah.
So the title means not very much. It's just you have to there's so many different types of interviews, so many different types of people, but it really comes down to just failing, and then that's how I got out here. I failed a lot, and then something stuck. So
So you like the tech industry? Do you see yourself staying here
for
a while?
Yeah, for sure. That's the whole reason that I transferred out of the design. I like design. Design is definitely one of my passions, but to be able to breathe life into designs, I think excites me to be able to go.
Cool. That's why I don't like the back end stuff, because I'm typing on the keyboard and I don't know what's happening. I think it's working, but like the front end is probably why I like the front end so much, because you're a designer, Jordan's an artist.
Yeah.
I don't know what Jenna does.
Right.
We have so many people that like to create visual appealing things in our family. So that's why I think that I lean towards the front end, because my big brother's a front end dude.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, dude.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So what do you find the most challenging in the tech industry?
Oh, just of course, like everyone, the change. I picked up a new technology, 6 months ago. It's already overwritten. So it's just constantly changing, and constantly make sure that you're learning, which goes back to being teachable. Just because you know something once doesn't mean you're gonna know it forever, and just because you've been right once doesn't mean you're gonna be right forever. So just being teachable, being humble and kind.
So. All right, quick one. Office or work from home?
I'm gonna say both.
Hybrid?
Yeah, hybrid's been super fantastic. Right now I'm all home, and I'm starting to see some of the gaps, being in the office. But office time, especially around the city, you lose 2 to 2.5 hours every day. You want to see your family, you want to get home, you want to stretch your legs. So a mixture, I think, would be my preferable.
Okay.
Way to go. So. And
learning never stops in this career. So what are you learning now?
I'm actually learning C#. Yeah.
The Tina.
I know it's nasty, but I try to make it fun. I did the whole course of just hey, let me read a book and then try to build something. Not really the way.
I thought you were a front end guy. Why are you doing C#?
Because a lot of, I'm not sure if you know, but there's a thing called TypeScript.
I have heard of TypeScript.
Yes, TypeScript. Yes, statically written languages are popular now.
We love that.
We love that. It's all good. Yeah, it's great. So, but so instead of just reading a book and picking stuff, I thought, why not build something fun? So I'm building a video game in C#. And
what's it called?
It's called Project Squire Haven.
Square Haven.
Squire Haven.
Easy off the
tongue. It doesn't have a name yet. But
link in the description.
Look at the description. Look at the description. But yeah, I think it's important. Build something interesting. that you're, especially when we're learning a new technology. And so I'm building a game, and it's really helping me just pick up C#. So.
That was the hardest for me when I got out of these courses. I was like, oh man, I just went through a 20-hour JavaScript course. Obviously, I can do anything needed of me. And then I go try to make something, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't know.
You don't want to do it. You know what I mean?
But you learn so much by hands on the keyboard, failing early, and then you just learn. It's like, it's crazy.
It's really crazy. That's crazy.
Okay. Couple more questions. I know you are a very busy man. Need to go make those millions.
Yeah, billions actually.
Billions at this point. Yeah. Where do you see yourself going? Like, do you want to be an individual contributor? Do you want to be a manager? Or do you want to change into back-end development? What's good?
That's actually a good question. Thanks for answering.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. So, no, I've talked to a couple people, my boss included. I think I really want to start going full stack. I'm seeing that when you know how your data models are functioning, you can build better front ends. And so to be a better front end developer, I think I need to become a better back end developer. So I think I'm gonna go full stack. I'm really gonna try work on those data structures. Really gonna try to bone up on MySQL, get my Docker in order. But I think that's gonna be the next 5 years of struggle. Is just kind of making sure I understand those data models so I can be a better front end developer.
Okay. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I tried full stack when I was at that company in LA.
Oh yeah, you talked about that.
And it's just a lot. I was learning so much, but I mean, it did feel good being able to know what's going on front to back in the middle. It feels good to just own the whole entire. You can own the whole entire code base if you want to. That's a feeling of pride that you get.
It is. It's definitely a feeling of pride. I'm not sure if you talked about it or if someone talked about it, but you mentioned the 12-factor app. And they mentioned that you need to be able to understand how your code is being deployed, and it is good when you're on a big team, but especially on these smaller teams, you just need to be able to understand those pipelines. And I was finding a lot of support at Expedia that I can't do outside. Expedia is huge, thousands of people. Right. When you move into smaller teams, you really need to be able to understand those pipelines. I realize that's one of my gaps, and so that's one of the reasons I think I want to start moving full stack.
Okay, I understand. Yeah. I think the crazy thing is what I've seen on the internet. Gosh, nabbit. On the lines. Full stacks get paid the same as front end and back end. So I'm like, what? But I mean, if that's your jam, that's your jam.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you should pick up first. I think I'm pretty sure you talked about it. Learn smallest component you can, and then build on top of that. But I think I'm at a point in my journey where I can start putting that last component on, putting the backend on there. Again, not going to be a super professional right off the bat, but to get my feet wet, to make sure that I'm actually understanding those concepts, it's going to sharpen my saw.
Okay. So you've been in tech for 6 years. How did it feel to be in tech as a black man? There's not a lot of us. No, that's what I'm seeing. How did it feel for you?
It's intimidating. Just to be honest and transparent. You feel like you represent a whole culture sometimes. Yeah. And when you struggle, sometimes you feel like it's the struggle of the culture. So, right. But I also feel like it's a great opportunity for us. I personally believe we need more black leaders, especially in tech. I don't see it. And so it's cheesy, but you need to be the change that you want to see. Yeah. And so I know I'm not going to be the perfect person, but if I can help inspire other, especially black young men, not even black, just people of color, to go into these fields, then that's what I want to do. And I think that failing again is super important. Yeah. I'm not going to get it right the first time, but I'm definitely going to try my best. So.
Yeah, I'm loving seeing underrepresented racial minorities in tech. I think that it's so great to be able to be that person that inspires. I didn't know when I started this channel that black people, specifically black people, would watch my channel and they would be like, oh, I didn't know we could come to tech. And then thousands of people have reached out to me and said, hey, I got into tech because of you, and I'm going to change my life because I didn't know that we could be in there. Yeah. So I think, you're right. Be the change that you want to see.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's even to that same point, if I can go back to the community, if you're around the same people all the time, you're never going to break out of your shell. So it really is hard, but you have to take that first step and kind of get out of that same group. If you want it to, change what your world looks like, you got to change what your group looks like, your friends look like. And that, I think, was pretty hard, is stepping out of that comfort zone. So
a lot of these bigger companies too are actually looking for minorities in tech. These bigger companies like Facebook and Meta, they're not just building applications for one demographic, they're building applications for the world, and the world is diverse. So they want people to be able to add those different point of views. They want self-taught developers, they want black people, white people, Asian people, all different types of people to create an application. for all different types of people. So
exactly.
That's what I'm noticing when people are reaching out to me. They're like, oh yeah, we actually love your experience. We love your background when we celebrate your differentness, which I think is pretty cool. In the
which is fantastic. I think that it's not a stain on your resume, to say you mentioned like, hey, you're an African American. It makes you who you are.
It is,
and it brings that different perspective to the table, which is invaluable. I think people are starting to see. So
I love that. I didn't know if I was gonna be uncomfortable in tech, but so far my experience honestly has just been really welcoming, inviting, and people with like software engineer brains. I don't know. This is just my personal experience. People with software engineer brains, they're like genuinely curious about my experience.
Yeah.
They're like, oh.
Yeah. it really, seriously, yeah. If you're not talking, then no one else is. And so if you can shed some more light on it, I think people are fascinated, especially with our experiences getting into that. It's a good time. It's a really good time. I think it sharpens you. Again, I'm saying it's over sharpens. But it really does. It really does. Yeah. Again, I'm all about making sure you get out of your comfort zone, making sure people don't look like you. I think that's where you start growing. So yeah.
All right, last question. This is my favorite question to ask. And knowing everything you know now, what advice would you give yourself right before you started to break into tech?
Yeah. Again, I think that's a really good question. I should probably have thought about that a little bit more.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. Super surprise. I think that don't be afraid to be mediocre is probably something I should tell myself. I think especially, when you pick up something, you want to master it as quickly as possible. Yeah. But the reality is you're going to be very mediocre for quite a while, and you can't be afraid to stay in that mediocres, because that's where greatness lies. Like if you can be consistent at being mediocre, you can be great. And I think I would have done better if I was just okay not picking up a concept in 2 minutes and making sure that that struggle is where you're actually learning. Yeah. If you're not struggling, you're probably not learning. So I would go back and tell myself that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm behind that as well with the whatever. We already pointed the science too many times. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I think this is super important information. We got great insight. A lot of these conversations I've never had with you before.
No,
should probably call you more.
You should.
But thanks for coming. You people at home, hit that like button. What else? And then
subscribe.
And we will
down below.
I will see. I don't know where to look. I'll see you on the next one. All right, we're done. All right, thanks.